Hey everyone, it is time for our recruiting report with Otis Kirk. And Otis, one of the big stories for the Razorbacks this week was Isaiahcetagna flipping from Oregon to commit to the Razorbacks. What do you know about that, and just how big is it for the Razorbacks to pick him up?
Well, well, I was told that he wanted to stay close to home. I mean, close to home and play with a lot of. See what's happened with this class. We've talked about this before. This class of 2022, all these in-state kids. And it's a big class. It's a good class and a big one. They have gotten to be friends, even though they play for different teams, but they've gotten really close. And these kids have worked on Isaiah the whole time. And he was going to A&M. Then he switched and went to Oregon. But the word I got was he just wants to stay and play with some of his friends, and that's big news for Sam Pittman and all the coaches over there, because this kid has got world class. He's got big time speed, and he can run. He's going to run track too, and he can catch football. He's someone that could help him in special teams as well. I mean, there's a kid that you can put back there, kickoff punts, and if you wanted to, he certainly and Quincy McAdoo are going to be capable of getting a lot of separation, Tara, and that's what you want at wide receiver. But I think the biggest thing was, if you remember, Quincy McAdoo was committed to Florida State, and some of the recruits said, "We're not going to let you go there," and they kept recruiting him, and the coaches did too. Yeah. And Quincy told me the other day, he said, "I'm sure glad I let Arkansas recruit me," because he was going to Florida State, and now he's coming to Arkansas, and that's going to be two very good receivers, and I don't think they're finished at that position. We will talk about that in a few on here, but I don't think they're finished at receiver in this class.
Well, as for running back, Braylon Russell for the 2024 class has given his pledge to Arkansas. What do you know about him?
Did it yesterday. He was at an elite camp this summer. The day Arkansas offered him, I think it was the last camp they had, I believe. It was on a Sunday. It was a Sunday elite camp. And they were out and they practiced they had the camp in the stadium, Tara. And I'm standing there with a guy who's from Memphis who was looking at, he deals in 7-on-7 summer travel ball and stuff. And he was looking out there, and I said, "There's your kid you need to talk to about getting on your team." And he said, "Well, he's probably a senior, isn't he?" I mean, this kid's 6'2", 225. I said, he just was in the 9th grade this year. He is huge. And I mean, Braylon Russell, to me, has a chance to be a 5-star eventually. If not, certainly a 4-star. If he's not, there's something wrong with ranking. If he's not at least a 4-star, there's something wrong with the ranking. But no, I think he's got a chance. I really do. If he's as good as I think he is, he's big. He's got speed. He's got height. I mean, he's got everything you want in a running back. I mean, he looks like some of these guys that's on TV playing right now with Dallas Cowboys and Denver Broncos. I mean, he looks like an NFL running back, not a 10th grader at Lakeside High School. Wow. And one thing I'll bring up about Braylon Russell and Isaiah, one thing they've got in common, a lot of people don't think about, both of them are playing for former Razorbacks. Quarterbacks. Casey, Jerry McBride at Lakeside. 2 Razorback quarterbacks have 2 standout recruits, and they're both coming to Arkansas. So, yeah, I mean, that's what you get. And it's kind of everybody take care of everybody in Arkansas, and that's huge. And it's good. And I think that, but Braylon Russell and Isaiah both very worthy of being Razorbacks, and not just Razorbacks, but it was Isaiah could have gone basically any school. Southern Cal, LSU, A&M, we talked about Horton. I mean, he could have gone where he wanted to go. And Braylon, he's just a sophomore. Had he not committed and kept it wide open, he could have had his options later on. So, I mean, that's just the way it works. But these are that's 2 big-time recruits that Sam Pittman and his staff reeled in. They were at the game yesterday, and they were impressed, and as was everybody with that game. Yeah. That was a nail biter, man. But it was something. That's the type of game you can win and show the recruits this is what we're building. Mm-hmm. I told Sam in the press conference, I asked him a question. I said, you got 6 wins, but 3 of those were over ranked teams. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're beating directional schools. They're beating 3 top 10, top 25 teams in those 6 wins. So they've got to, I mean, it was good. But that's what Braylon can do. He can bring a lot to the table. I think he's going to be one of the best running backs to come out of the state in a long time when he gets here.
Well, as for quarterbacks, Hunter Talley is out of Salem Springs, and he's gonna be a preferred walk on for the Razorbacks. Is that
He
right?
got that offer yesterday,
Okay.
Tara. He's another kid that was at the game. He he loved the game. He loves the team. He's born a Razorback fan. I mean, what is Salem, maybe 30, 40 miles from here, 25, whatever it is. He he grew up. He grew up a Razorback fan, but he's not ready to make a commitment. He's got an offer to Coffee Bill, but it's not a great situation. Not an academic situation.
Yeah.
This kid's got a 34 on the ACT. He's 6'4.5", 200 pounds, and can run about a 4.75. He has great stats out there at Siloam this year. And for a kid that can do it all, he's one that, they're not going to, well, right now they don't have a quarterback in the class of 2022, and depending on, they may not. And so you've offered the Pfizer kid at Pulaski Academy we talked about last week. Then you offer this kid at Siloam Springs, Talley. So you've got a chance there, to possibly bring in a quarterback in that sense that could kind of give you somebody in that class. And so that's kind of what they're looking at. But I think in the end, they got to get a pretty good shot at getting Hunter. I don't know. I think Pfizer too, but I think they've got a really good shot at getting Hunter Talley.
Well, you mentioned the Mississippi State game and it being really impressive for a lot of recruits. There were definitely a bunch of them at that game. And Samembache, I think I'm pronouncing that right, that he was also at at that game for an unofficial visit. 4-star. He's got a ton of offers. It looks like Florida, LSU, Ole Miss. What does he think of the Razorbacks? Where do they stand?
Well, he's a kid that's being projected by some people to go to Ole Miss or Mississippi State, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think in the end of the day, he's a 4-star, and I think at the end of the day, he'll be a Razorback with Isaiah and Quincy McAdoo. I think it'll be their wide receiver class in this wide receiver group in this class. And if they get those are 3-4 stars, and they're all legit talents who can run, big guys who can catch the ball. Isaiah's not a big guy, but he's certainly got speed. But Quincy and Sam are pretty good sized kids, but they've all got speed. And that's the main thing that Arkansas is trying to do at receiver. They're trying to get guys that can get separation, because that's been a little bit of an issue when they got here. Maybe, obviously we're not talking about Braylon Burks and some of the others, but just overall, I think everybody's looking for receivers who can get separation. You go to the NFL draft and, next April, I think it's in April, but go to the next April in the NFL draft, they're looking for receivers who can get separation. That's probably why Braylon Burks will be a high draft pick. But that's just something they're looking for. I think I said last week on this show, Arkansas is pretty much looking for things that NFL were looking for with a few scholarships. They were looking at a left tackle on offense, a pass protector, rush in, a cornerback with great speed, cover skills, and a receiver with speed. I mean, that's what everybody wants. It's not just Arkansas, but it's good when you've got enough commitments and done well in recruiting to this point that you can focus on those areas.
Yeah.
And you can be selective. We've seen classes in Arkansas and other places too, where at the end you're out here grasping for straws, taking chances on kids. When you can select and kind of be picky like that and have your priorities and be in good enough shape to hold out for those priorities, I think that's a huge bonus. But that's where Arkansas is at right now. Who'd ever thought when Sam Pittman got here, after 19 games at Arkansas, he would be favored at Baton Rouge over LSU, a team that was coming off the national championship the season before he got here. That's where it's not just Sam Pittman, it's Sam Pittman, the staff and the player. That's where they've got Arkansas at, Tara.
Right, and making that bowl game definitely helps with recruiting as well. So I'm excited. It's something to look forward to. I know the Razorbacks are excited about that as well.
Yeah.
But Otis, that's going to wrap it up for our recruiting report. Thank you so much for your time and all of your insight. I know you've got a bunch of great articles on these guys over on our website. So if anyone wants to check that out, just head on over to hogville.net. Otis, again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tara. Have a good day.
You too.